Hi, Robert. Glad you could join us. I'm finishing some stuff up here, but I will get on camera shortly. And if you're feeling up for it, you're welcome to come on camera too once we start.
Okay, sure will. Thank you again for the opportunity to participate tonight.
Sure, sure. And who do we have from CB9 staff?
Hey, Christian, it's Khalid,
Hey, Khalid, welcome. Thanks for joining.
of course.
Hi, Martine. I'm going to come on camera shortly, but thanks for joining. I don't know if you saw, but Matt is not able to join tonight because he's solo parenting. So would you be able to take notes? I think you're still on mute.
Yes, I can. I'll do the best I can. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. I sent you a template earlier. If you go into your email, the CB9 just put together a new template.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
that should make it easier because you can just plug into the template. You don't have to give a play-by-play of our entire meeting, but just simply who is here, which members were in attendance when we started.
I don't have that. Did you send it to me or am I supposed to find it someplace else?
No, I sent it to you probably about a couple of hours ago, 3 to 4 hours ago.
Mm. Okay, let me see. Wait a second. It's part of, okay.
Hi, Martina. Check your email at around 1:24 p.m.
Okay, at 1:23. Hi, Matt. Thanks for the update. Is that where it's at?
Yep.
E9 plate, is that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, should I download that now, or you're just saying when I send it to you, it should be in that form?
I mean, when you send it to me, it should be in that form. That's CB9's preferred form now. It might be easier for you to download it now. That way you can just work in the document already, but I defer to you, whatever works easiest for you.
Okay.
And we're going to go ahead and get started in just 1 minute. Thank you for your patience. Hi, Teresa, welcome. And Suki, welcome. Miss Moses, thank you for joining. Okay, welcome everyone. Thanks so much for joining. Really appreciate it. We are going to dive right into the agenda today. And thanks to our district managers in CB9 and Khalid for sending it out earlier. Today's meeting, I think, will be pretty short, actually. I think it'll be under, my goal is to get us out of here by 8 o'clock. The first two meetings were longer because we had to go through our vision and things through some of our activities, but I think that today's meeting will be a lot shorter. So at 7:07 p.m., we are now commencing this meeting for the record. And I would just like to start with, as Teresa had mentioned in our first meeting, reviewing our meeting norms and our purpose for getting together each week. So our purpose, of course, is to...
Peek over here once in a while, she's behind you.
Oh, sorry, do you mind?
Yes, I'm.
It's okay, no worries. Our purpose is to advance our vision. And our vision is to live in a green community where our city agencies partner with our community to ensure our neighborhood is civically engaged, clean, environmentally just, and protected, while also mitigating the effects of climate change. That's the purpose that brings us here today. We have a couple of meeting norms that we all agreed to in our first gathering, which is to please use the raise your hand function in the Zoom in order to speak. Please be mindful that we are one community. That means that as a community, we have disagreements and we don't always see eye to eye on things, but because we are one community, it's important that we all respect each other and we show respect to everybody in this meeting. So thank you for joining. I don't have any announcements today. I will just go ahead and dive into it. And we will start with a presentation from Robert McCall, who is here on behalf of Barrio Solar. And he is going to speak to us for about 5 minutes about his program that is helping install solar energy in homes across Brooklyn. And then he'll take about 10 minutes of questions from all of us in the group. Last week, I sent you all his flyer in regards to the program that he is working on. So you have that in your inboxes. And with that, I will send it over to Robert. Robert, thank you for joining.
Chris, thank you for the introduction, and thank you everyone for your time tonight. It's a pleasure to be talking to you. So my name is Robert McCool, and I'm the Director of Homeownership Programs at the nonprofit organization Neighbors Helping Neighbors. It's an affiliate of the larger group Fifth Avenue Committee, and we're running this new campaign called Barrio Solar in partnership with Solar One. And it's a campaign for Brooklyn 1 to 4 family homeowners. And our goals are to see if we can help homeowners reduce their electricity costs while also combating climate change. We also want to try to help reduce the upfront cost to installing solar. And we're trying to do that in 2 ways. We have a down payment assistance program where we can give eligible homeowners $3,500 towards the direct upfront cost of installing solar. And then we are also trying to form buyers groups so that we can pool homeowners together and help them negotiate discounted pricing with reputable installers. And so it's sort of it's basically a group purchasing club. And so the more homeowners that we can get to join, the lower the discounts that we can offer. And then throughout the process, we want to provide guidance and support to homeowners who may be interested in installing solar. Really help them if they are going to be using any kind of financing tools, any kind of loan programs, make sure that they're getting decent, affordable, non-predatory financing options. And then for homeowners who, there will be homeowners who won't be eligible to install solar. Maybe their roofs aren't big enough to support the installation. Their homes may be shaded by trees or other buildings. We'll be helping them to access community solar through other large installations throughout the city. And so the benefits of the program are these free solar assessments that we're able to provide. And I'll put here in the chat box, we have a link, I can find it here. We have a link where we're encouraging homeowners to sign up for their solar assessment. So if they're curious about solar, if they want to know maybe whether solar is feasible, whether they might be able to realize any savings benefits from installing solar panels, we will give a free site assessment. We'll start by looking at their roof using satellite imagery, determining potentially how large an array they can install, and then doing looking at their current electricity bills, doing a savings analysis to see again, if they might be able to realize any monthly savings. And throughout the process, we'll also be helping them access the available tax credits, federal credit, state credit, and New York City property tax reduction for installing solar. The campaign is open to all 1 to 4 family homeowners in Brooklyn. And again, we're trying to encourage as many homeowners as we can to join the campaign. And then this $3,500 cash subsidy is available to homeowners who are making up to 100% of area median income as defined by HPD. And I do have a link to those income limits. I can also email those to you, maybe through Chris. And there are also some priority zip codes that we're working with. This is largely a campaign to help low to middle income homeowners install solar, as well as homeowners of color. So again, we're trying to make solar more affordable and accessible to homeowners who otherwise might find obstacles to installing solar. So yeah, I'd like to address any questions you might have, but mainly we're just trying to spread the word as far as widely as we can. Encouraging people to visit our website, sign up for a free solar assessment. And I would love to have any of your suggestions on how we could spread the word. Any sort of other community groups that you might recommend, neighborhood associations, other influential leaders in the neighborhood. We'd love to make those connections.
Robert, thank you so much. That's an excellent presentation. It's really exciting, this work that you're doing. I see that Teresa raised her hand and would like to pose a question.
Hi, Robert. Thank you. I'm Teresa. I'm a member of this committee. I looked quite seriously when Kristen sent out your flyer because we're a homeowner and we've been, sorry, considering getting solar for a while. And it, just to let you know, it was quite confusing to me to look at your material online because it was very difficult to find like what was going on. Like there's like more than one name attached. There's so many names attached that it was difficult for me. It's like Solar One, Neighbors Helping Neighbors, Fifth Avenue, Barrio. I saw all of that and it was difficult to figure out what exactly you do. I'm glad to hear you speak, but just as a person that's very interested, it was difficult for me to seek out the information. And I'm wondering, do you recommend a particular vendor? Like how does that work? Like who's going to install the solar panels? I consulted with another group. Actually, I sent them in my information and talked to them this morning, and they're going to come and look at our house next week. So that specializes in flat roofs. Like in my neighborhood, we have a lot of flat roofs. So I'm just wondering how that all that works.
Sure, and thank you for the question. And actually, thank you for the feedback on our our branding and our messaging. I think that's really helpful feedback that I'll take back to the campaign, and we'll. I think we need to be more clear, kind of listing out our bullet points of what we're offering, and making sure it's less confusing about who actually is involved in the campaign.
Yeah, because it was like, well, are these guys going to install my panels? Like, do I have to get my own vendor and then apply, or, how exactly that worked?
Yeah, that's very helpful. Thank you. We don't have, we are not installers, and we don't have preferred installers. We will work with any installer that you find. Solar One does have a lot of experience working with particular installers, and so they sort of they know who is reputable. And when we build our buying club, if you were to be involved in the campaign and join that buying club, we would help choose one of maybe 5 installers that have a good reputation, that Solar One has had a good working relationship with, and help you access solar through that installation or through that installer. But homeowners would still be eligible for the subsidy. If they meet the income criteria and the other eligibility requirements, if they choose their own installer. So it's a fairly open and flexible campaign.
So if I pick my own installer, I could still apply, like
Correct.
later or before, or what?
Either or. We're open to. We know that the timing may be difficult. We already have one homeowner who has already signed a contract, but she's eligible for the subsidy. And so we want her to be able to use the assistance. So she will be able to obtain the subsidy funds, even though she's already committed to a particular installer. It would need to be around the time that you're signing the contract, because the idea is that the subsidy is meant to be used towards those upfront costs, either towards the actual installation cost, any electrical upgrades, maybe roof repairs.
This is a new thing, right? This is new. You just started this here in New York.
Correct. Yeah, it's new as of early October, and we're just we're really kind of building.
Online, I could see that it was in Puerto Rico and other places. It seemed to be like, is that right? Like there was the same group had done something in Puerto Rico.
It may be possible that Solar One, the other nonprofit, has done work in Puerto Rico, but the Barrio Solar campaign is
there were so many names attached that I really didn't understand. Where's the funding coming from? The state, the feds?
The funding for the campaign is coming from Enterprise Community Partners.
What's that?
It's a large community development funding intermediary.
Enterprise.
So it's like a foundation that supports various anti-poverty and community development.
What's it called again? Enterprise.
Enterprise Community Partners.
You see how it could be confusing for somebody like me? to research and figure out what's happening. So how would I get the recommendations for good vendors?
I think the first thing, to really express your interest, we would encourage you to visit the campaign website. And
And I'm so glad you're here because it was confusing to me.
Sure. There is a little Google form where you can fill out you would just put your contact information in, and then Bruno, who was our campaign coordinator, Bruno Estrada, would reach out to you, and he would provide some advice and information about the installers that they might recommend.
And that website is what's?
Sure. And I'm embarrassed because I use Zoom every day and I cannot find the chat.
Oh,
We actually don't have a chat. I'm sorry, Robert.
You can't find the chat?
If you'd like, perhaps the best thing is to send any additional information to me and I can send it to Teresa and the entire committee.
Oh,
Sure,
our
happy to do that.
board does not allow chats because there's too many disruptions, I've heard.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Not really, but that's what it is.
I would like to, if I may, I just want to make sure that all board members have a chance to ask a question. And I also want to be mindful of our agenda in the
All
time.
right, I'm done then. Just please send me the link.
Okay, no problem. Thank you, Teresa. I'll send it once I get any additional information from Robert. And Robert, just so we know, are committee members would you be comfortable if committee members reached out to you to learn more information directly as well?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And Chris, you have my contact information as well, so please feel free to forward that along as well, in addition to the link.
Great, I will. Thank you. I just would like to see if Miss Moses or Martina or Suki, I see Pierre just joined. Is there anyone else that would like to pose a question to Robert?
No, I'm good.
Okay, thank you, Miss Moses. All right, very good. Well, if that's the case, Robert, I think the work that you're doing is really important, and thank you for taking the time on a Tuesday evening to come and speak with us. Hopefully some of the feedback you got was helpful, and I think you have a lot of enthusiasm from folks to learn more about the program. So you're welcome to stay. This is your community board meeting too, so if you'd like to listen in for the rest of it, you're more than welcome. But if you have things going on, you have to drop off, that's okay too. What I'll do in terms of next steps is I will send any information that you send my way out to the committee, including your contact information.
Great. Yeah, I have another obligation this evening, but Chris, thank you very much for the invitation to attend. Teresa, thank you for the great questions and feedback, and thank you all for your time. I really appreciate it.
Robert?
Yes.
Robert, I just have a very quick question for you. Hi, I'm Martina. I was just thinking, right now I'm connected to solar through, some company that works through, with Con Ed or something. It's really expensive. And I'm just wondering, when you're talking about the groups that can be gathered together to do solar in a group way, is that going to be a lot less expensive for us to do it that way than the way they're offering it through the Con Ed service?
The idea is that we are trying to make sure that homeowners are spending no more than they're currently spending on electricity or solar power, and preferably less. Every home is different though, and every situation is different. So to do that really detailed analysis, I would encourage you to sign up for that assessment.
Okay, thank you very much. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
your time. Thank you.
Sure. You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Robert.
Okay, thank you again. Everyone have a good night.
You too. All right, moving along to the next portion of our agenda, I just would like to review the previous action items. I budgeted 15 minutes for this, but it may not take that long. We committed, each one of us, after our last meeting in November, to taking some steps to engage on the ideas that we are championing within this committee, myself included. So I'll start with an update in terms of what I've been working on in regards to traffic enforcement and the broom sweep. As many of you mentioned in our first meeting, litter is a problem in our community, and when the litter gets caught in the trash, in the catch basins, and we have a massive rainstorm like we had over the summer with Hurricane Ida, that creates ponding around the catch basins and eventually flooding in certain areas. So in an effort to try and address that, one thing that we had discussed and one thing that this committee had agreed about pursuing is traffic enforcement and making sure that cars are moving their cars when it's alternate street side parking, so that Department of Sanitation can come through and do their broom sweep with the street sweeper. So I met with the superintendent of Department of Sanitation for our district about 2 weeks ago. He did a field visit. He was very generous with his time. He came out of his office into our neighborhood, and I met with him. And we walked around the community a bit, and he talked about and showed me some of the areas where he understands there are issues in terms of traffic enforcement. And the bottom line up front, or the bottom line is this: his guys, and they mostly are guys, I think they all are guys that are driving the trucks. They would like to be able to do their street sweeping, but because we as a community are not always moving our cars, and the NYPD, local NYPD, does not have a real dedicated person or enough dedicated people to doing traffic enforcement, folks are just leaving their cars and taking the chance, running the risk of getting a ticket. So the street sweeper can't come through. So in terms of next steps on my end, what I would like to do is circle back to our district managers and see if I can get with our local NYPD precincts and just have a better understanding of what they're working on. We know that traffic enforcement is not a priority for NYPD in our communities, but I will reach out as a next step to learn about how they view traffic enforcement and ways that we can partner together. So I think continuing to investigate the issue so that we can hopefully come up with a resolution. I will report back in January with what I get out of those conversations. Any questions on that before we go into the second point under previous action items? Teresa?
I just want to ask, doesn't sanitation ticket as well?
Good question. I think I know there are multiple agencies that ticket. I don't know if sanitation is one of them. Superintendent Rice didn't mention that his group, his agency's tickets. I can circle back though and ask, unless Khalid, by any chance, do you know of sanitation tickets?
Sanitation department, they do list violations or citations against properties that usually have unsanitary conditions in front of their property. So the sidewalk, the tree pit, and I think some up to some line going towards the curb. What you're talking about is ticketing enforcement for cars that are parked on the sidewalk, and that is an NYPD jurisdiction. That is not the sanitation department's jurisdiction to ticket parking cars parked on the wrong side for alternate side parking.
That's very helpful, Khalid. And you know what? Superintendent Rice did mention that actually. He said that they can do citations for curb pickups in front of property owners, but you're right that the actual parking tickets are NYPD. There may be DOT that does it as well, but I know you're right, NYPD does it. Okay. Yes, Teresa, I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand is still raised.
Oh, I meant to put it down, but I do know that there was a car that was parked on our street for like a year,
Mhm.
and sanitation ended up dealing with it, ticketing it and towing it away. But I
Okay.
think it was a weird situation. Just saying, I remember that once, that's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, that depends on the state of the vehicle. If it's a derelict vehicle and DSNY, they have certain stipulations or requirements that would identify a derelict vehicle. If it is properly functioning, even if without a license plate or with a license plate, then we refer it to NYPD.
Yeah, it was a car with a notice that said they were in the FBI in the window. That's what they stayed there on a side street.
Well, hey, good that you noticed it, Teresa, and I'm glad that eventually the car got moved. As a reminder for everyone on this call, I would like to encourage us to get in the practice of 311, putting in requests on 311 whenever we have issues in our community. That should be the first step, but it sounds like this one is already taken care of. I would like to then move along to the next portion of previous action items, which I'll just be briefing on behalf of Matt this evening. Matt had a family commitment tonight, so he's not able to join us. Thanks again, Martina, for taking notes in his absence. Matt is championing the issue of planting of rain gardens. He talked to the Department of Environmental Protection since we last met, and he shared with me a map that's available online that shows dozens of planned rain gardens for our community, particularly on the eastern edge of CB9, which I believe is where a lot of the flooding has been happening at some of those intersections in the central part of CB9 and in the eastern portion. So DEP said they're likely to start on that in the spring of 2022 in terms of the actual construction of these dozens of rain gardens that are being planned. So that's welcome news. Matt is not here to speak to this issue, but I want to share that information on his behalf. Is there any quick thoughts on that?
Yeah, I actually do have a comment. Can you actually send out the link for the planned locations so we can get feedback?
Sure, I'm happy to. I will do that.
That'd be great.
I will send that.
Are they already planned, or Matt was able to do this?
No, these are already planned, Teresa. Good question. These are already planned.
Okay.
So
I would like-
my first comment is what I'm hearing from some people in my neighborhood who worked at DEP is that this is a sewer capacity issue, that the sewers were just sized too small for both the amount of development that we have now and the increased amount of rainfall. But they're waiting for more money from someone to redo the sewers. I don't know whether it's going to come from the federal government with the the new infrastructure programs, or maybe the city will commit some money. The rain gardens, I'm not personally opposed, but most of our blocks already have the maximum number of street trees. So I don't know. I mean, the rain gardens are essentially like very large street tree pits. And most of our blocks, including the commercial avenues, already have the maximum number of street trees. So I'm not sure how much more can be done. I do know that there was one building on Bedford that got an additional street tree recently, and there was some grumbling actually, because the feeling is that like the property owners are gonna be responsible for maintenance, because it's a continual battle as it is to keep the tree pits free of garbage, like keep the dogs out of them, sweep the leaves, et cetera, et cetera. So it's kind of, a mixed blessing. And then there's also going to be people who park their cars who are going to, like on the street, if it's really extensive, they're going to have trouble getting out of their cars, or else people are just going to step on it, like our Lefferts Manor does planting every year, but we do not plant in tree pits because the flowers just get trampled. So that's just, my thought on that. I do think it's a nice idea. I just don't know if it's going to be universally popular.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, Suki, and thank you for sharing your perspective in terms of what has worked and what has not worked, particularly on your block and in your association. This is something that we committed to championing in one of our earlier meetings, so I think we're going to continue it. But it's certainly we want to do so in a thoughtful way that is also mindful of the fact that it's not a perfect solution. I don't want to spend too much time on it because I am not the champion of planting of rain gardens. That's really Matt's thing. But I did want to share out the work that he had done, and it might be helpful for you and him to connect to further talk about it since it's his issue. I also would like to remind everyone to please, it's a small group and everybody's super respectful, but please do raise your hand. It just helps keep track of who's speaking. With that being said, I would like to move to this next portion of reviewing our previous action items, and that's the replacement of trash bins. Martina, would you like to give a brief update there?
Hi, everyone. Good evening. I'm very sorry to say that I have not moved anything forward since last time. I have contacted several people in different apartment buildings around my area, and they told me that they were going to get the contact information of the superintendents, and I have not received them yet. So I am outside a lot, seeing if I can track them down because I didn't get the people's phone numbers either. So that's the next thing to try to do. And I also wrote to Dante to get some information on the contact information for the big apartment buildings and the merchants. But I haven't heard back. It was a little over a week ago, so I think I'll try calling him again tomorrow and see if I can get something there. I do have a question for everybody, which is, obviously, we were not the first people at CB9 to discuss and be concerned about the trash problem here, which is basically all of New York City, but here in Brooklyn too. And I know that CB9 must have a history of attempting to make some positive changes here. And my question is, what do people know? What happened? What occurred? Is there anything that we could use from the history to help us make some positive changes? And also, the other thing is that Teresa, and you may have received it too, Chris, but she sent an article that was in the paper of I think a council person in Manhattan who's trying to make some changes and bring the trash issue into the 21st century. Yeah. But I do want to say that outside of the fact that this council person is talking about these large receptacles in the community for the trash, I just want to mention to everybody, and I mentioned it to Chris as well before, that on Washington near Crown, there's a big apartment building that planted, also has bird feeders and houses, and they have a lot of like a nice line of trash cans that are neatly assembled. So they didn't need actually the great big European receptacles. It looks like they're doing just fine with just very large garbage cans. And they're keeping it nice and neat. And so my feeling is that if that building can do it, then obviously every building in our area can do it. if they want to, if they, you know, have a desire. So,
I think that's a, you know, I think that as there may be developments coming down the pike in our community, and as these developments come through the pike, ULURP committee will be reviewing. Well, the ULURP committee will be reviewing rezoning, but also may even look at some of these developments more closely. And if that's the case, it would be helpful for us to get with that committee to impress upon the developers that there are certain trash receptacles that are more environmentally friendly or more aesthetically pleasing that they could and should be implementing when they design some of these new buildings. So I think that's a great point, Martina. Thank you.
yeah, because some of these buildings that have come, that are not very old, they're just, you know, 3-4 years old around here. They did not think ahead on designing a place for the bins, and they have mountains of trash out there, and they could easily have designed something so that it was part of the whole aesthetic.
Right. I see Teresa raise her hand. Teresa?
Yeah, I don't think it's so much the developers that are coming. But I think we have to deal with what we have now. And every new development that is put in has a big problem. Like on our street in particular, 2 new buildings that are in have tons of trash out on garbage day, tons and tons of tons, and it's horrible. And it smells, and they could be in containers. And I think one is right next door to Martina. So that's probably why she's so interested in it. And, you know, once you get out of, you know, in anywhere where there's apartment buildings, this is a problem. So, and we have some big developments near us, both old and new.
Mhm.
So I think what she's really interested in is dealing with what we have now. I think that putting it off to wait till the new development gets here is not going to do it, you know?
Yeah.
Teresa, that's a fair point and a valid point, and I think that you're absolutely right. I mean, it's an issue now. Why wait for other buildings to come into the area that could address it? We should be addressing it now. I thank you, Martina, for trying your best to get contact information for those supers. It's okay that you haven't got it just yet. It takes a lot of follow-up and time, and we all know that we also have 9 to 5s as well. So if you, maybe over the holidays, you'll have there'll be an opportunity to see one of these folks. In terms of the email that you sent to Dante regarding the merchant associations and names and numbers, I thought that was great. Maybe a follow-up at this stage in time would be helpful. Khalid, perhaps you could also flag for Dante that Martina will be following up. And then if and then if you need further help, Martina, just let me know. I'm happy to help in that regard.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Sure. Okay, great. Then last point on this agenda area is the Spring Environmental Protection and Parks Fair. And I'd like to pass it to Teresa for an update.
Yeah, I've been like just basically thinking mainly and looking around for a location, because, you know, I'm wondering, would it be like getting a permit like for a block party or a group like that? Like, where would we have it even? That's been my big question, and I need some help with that. And I haven't, I reached out to some people in the other committee, but never really heard back. You know, it's the holidays and everything. So I'm wondering where we would do it. Like, if anybody has any suggestions based on. I don't,
I was not
some-
able to,
a
I
whole-
was not able to go to the, sorry, Teresa, I was not able to go to the health fair that we did, that CB9 put on the other day, but that was a very recent fair that we did. I believe it was on a particular block. That could be a potential option, whatever block that was. If it's helpful for you, I think you're on the right track. The first thing is location and date. Those are the first two things. You're right that we'll need a permit. We'll also need a budget. All those things will come later, but the first thing to solve is what location and what is the date going to be. So have you emailed Nicolas Almanor?
I don't think I did email him. I talked to Julia, another person on that committee, but not Nicola. I don't have his email.
Okay.
It's hard to get things like that. You know,
I will send you his email after this meeting. Nicolas is the chair of the Parks Committee, and he's the one that expressed interest in partnering with us and also potentially other committees to get this done. So I think in terms of a next step, it'd be helpful to schedule a call with him to talk about possible locations. And I'm happy to share with you his email, and you can feel free to copy me on the email when you write him, and I can follow up with him too as needed. Would that be helpful?
yeah, I'm just wondering too, like, having it in the same place. Sometimes I notice, like, with events like that, some neighborhoods or some streets get all the fun stuff, and you need to do like pass it around. I noticed particularly with have you ever been to one of the precinct block parties that they have? Like it used to be like only happening in one part of the district, and then people complained and it started moving around. So
Yeah.
just that's something that I'm aware of in our district, that having it on the same block as the health fair would be, like, when you put like the resources in one place, it's and I could do it on my block, I know how to deal with that here, but I'm wondering about dealing with something like that on another block. If Dante or Khalid or anybody like that has any suggestions for other areas that are like, where would be a good place to have an environmental fair? Like, I'm just thinking about, like, would it be better to go into a neighborhood that, I don't know who wants it, who needs it, like, what should we do?
Let me, if I may, I want to try and elevate folks who we haven't heard too much from and invite others that haven't spoken too much in the meeting to take a step forward if they would like. I know that's also part of our meeting norms. So I would actually like to pose that question. Welcome Khalid's thoughts on it, but I'd also like to pose that question to Pierre and Ms. Moses. Is there blocks that come to any of your minds that would be helpful for Teresa to investigate with Patrick, with Nicolas for this fair?
Well, I would have suggested at first any of the green spaces or park, playground recreational spaces that we have in the district, if you're going to do something, partnering with the Parks Committee. But to be honest, you can really decide on any street or block that you'd like within this district. Usually we try to have, if we're doing a street fair, a fair on a street where there is, where there would be a lot of foot traffic. So, the location we had for the health fair was on Lefferts, right by Washington and Flatbush Avenue intersection. An environmental protection fair could be located somewhere near Wingate Park, one of those streets around there, like Brooklyn Avenue or Rutland or Hawthorne around there. You can have an EP fair on one of the Empire Boulevard segments a Rogers Avenue segment. You know, you have options. The only thing is just that we need ample time to reach out to the street activity permit office to request a permit for shutting down the street.
Thank you, Khalid. That's helpful. Pierre, Ms. Moses?
Um, I was just thinking like inside of the park itself, there's a lot of traffic inside of Prospect Park, everywhere in there. So, I mean, if you was to pick a location within that park, you would also get a range of people from different communities also.
Yeah, so I agree that I think a park would make sense. I think Wingate Park is nice and spacious. That would be a good location. I went to the health fair that was close to Flatbush. That was a really good location. If you're looking for something with a lot of foot traffic, Empire Boulevard and like Nostrand close to the post office is a great location for foot traffic. I'm not sure how that would work though with closing off the streets. I'm not sure if they would allow a permit for that. But that's a really, really good location because you have a lot of stores in that area. You have Carver Bank, you have Golden Cross, you have cell phone stores. That's a really good area. But again, Wingate Park is nice and spacious, and it's sort of fitting for the setting for what you're looking for.
That's great. Super helpful. Thank you. Thank you to Ms. Moses, Khalid, Pierre. I think all those are great ideas. Teresa, is that helpful in terms of narrowing it down to a couple of potential places that you can then propose to Nicolas?
Well, it is helpful. You know, I'll see, you know, what he says, they say, and I'll see, you know, what do you think they would close down? They would close down Nostrand for something? I mean, that would be, you know, a good spot to bring attention to what's happening, but I wonder if they would allow us to close down. I think, you know, doing it, I don't know, you know, I'm not sure.
Let's not limit ourselves by what they might not approve or may approve. Let's dream big. If you think Nostrand, if you get with Nicolas and you both say, yeah, Nostrand would be great, then let's go for Nostrand.
Nostrand does have that, there's like a park behind, there's a little bit down with a school and a playground, like a little park there. Do you know what I mean? It's just down Sterling a little bit. There's a school and a little, I don't know if it's like a playground kind of park.
You're talking about right next to MS61, I think it's Mark and Jacob Playground, right? When you make a left onto Empire right off of Nostrand Avenue. Is that what you mean, Teresa?
Yeah.
Right. That's right next to MS61. I think it's Mark and Jacob Playground or something of that nature. I know what you're talking about. Right next to the Carver Bank, right by the bus stop there.
Thank you.
All right. I'll look around a little more, you know, I think we'll start more serious planning in January. I think it's the way the year starts is a little rough.
Okay.
Also, sorry, just to before Parkside Avenue and that intersection or that pedestrian plaza area right there is also a really nice location. Parkside and Ocean and Flatbush Avenue.
Oh yeah, that's pretty. It's just, I think that isn't the border of CB9, does it ends at, we're not part of Prospect Park though. That's what.
So right? our border ends right on Ocean Avenue and Parkside and Flatbush going into Clarkson. That's where our border ends at that side of the district. But in terms of Flatbush, in terms of Prospect Park, it's weird. It falls out of Brooklyn Community Board's districts, but community boards are still notified about events or construction or license acquisitions in Prospect Park. So and we work with, Prospect Park Alliance as well, depending on any kind of program or resource or anything or information. So anything is possible. As Christian said, don't limit yourself.
What about what about Wingate? I've ridden my bike over there, but that's within the district, or is it a borderline? Is it in the middle?
It's within the district. It's Wingate Park. Our southern border is Clarkson Avenue North. That's where our southern border ends.
Wait,
And
Wingate, that park that's near the hospital, or is it the one that's up
It-
further eastern
It's
part?
not. Yes, Wingate is north of Kings County Hospital SUNY Downstate campus and south of Empire Boulevard.
Okay.
I think you have,
I'll send you a map, Teresa, and you so I can, you'll be able to see properly.
thank you.
Yeah. I wish.
Teresa, I want
Thank you very much.
I want to be mindful of time, and we're coming up on an hour, but I think there's some clear action items that we can do here. I'm happy to help you with this, and I will send you Nicolas' email in the meeting. The next step will be to get with him and identify a location as well as a date. We have a couple of different options though that we could work with.
Did we have quorum this meeting?
We do have quorum, and that actually brings me to the next thing. Suki, if you don't mind, I see your hand is raised. I just would like to wrap this item up, and then I'm going to get to you. One of the things that we need in order to make this fair happen is we need to have a budget for the fair, and in order to have a budget, we have to pass a resolution or a motion to agree to have a fair on environmental protection and parks. Now, I don't know if Parks has to pass that same motion. They probably do if we're going to work with them. But I would like to offer, while we are here and while we do have quorum, I would like to entertain, if someone would like to call for a motion to have a Environmental Protection Committee and Parks Committee fair in the spring of 2022.
I'd like to do it. I've never done a motion in my life, so I would practice.
Okay.
Can I do it? Can you tell me how to do it? I don't know how. Sorry.
My understanding is that if we have an interest, and Khalid, please do chime in here. My understanding is that if we have one person who would like to do a motion, then we just need a second person to second that motion. So Teresa, would you like to have a motion to do a fair, joint fair with Parks in the spring?
I would like to have a motion to have a environmental protection fair in the spring of 2022 and ask the Parks Committee of C9 to join us, and as well as any other committees who may be interested. We're looking for a space and a date for the spring.
Great, thank you. Do we have anyone that would like to second that motion?
A second.
Ms. Moses, thank you. Martina, thank you. Great. So Khalid, we do have a motion for this item. Can we go into a vote now and ask if folks would like to take this up? Is that the next step?
Yeah. So once it's seconded, then you can call your vote. You can do roll call, or you can do, if there's all in favor, say aye. All who abstain, all who oppose, all who abstain, and you go through that motion and you tabulate the tally.
Okay, got it. So let's just do a voice vote then. All those in favor of the motion that Teresa put forth, please say aye.
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 Okay, great. So that's enough. We have enough committee members that voted in favor of it. That, as far as I know, Khalid, that makes it official, and we can now say that this is something we are formally doing.
No, you still have to ask the other two questions though.
Yes, you have to ask if there are any opposed, any abstentions, just
Right,
for
you still have to ask that.
Oh, thank you, Ms. Moses. Okay. Is there anyone opposed to the motion that Teresa put forth? Are there any abstentions to the motion that Teresa put forth? Okay, Khalid, what is my next step here?
So then you say now the motion has passed.
Yes.
All right.
Put it in the note.
Teamwork, the motion has passed. Thank you so much. We will note this in our meeting minutes that will be submitted to CB9. Thank you, everybody. And with that, I would like to go on, and this was actually something I wanted to raise in public discussion, but I see that Suki's been very patient. She raised her hand, so I pass it over to Suki, and we are now in the public discussion section of this agenda. Suki, please.
Thanks, Chris. This might be more of a request for the district staff, but I kind of wanted to put it in front of you guys as well. Can we get and publish from the agencies a schedule and a map for things like tree trimmings, sewer cleanings, sanitation, if they're doing extra pickups on certain streets, or if ASP days have been reduced on certain streets, things like that, so that we can track all of these things and monitor the service. By the way, tree trimming is like a top request that I hear every year from the homeowners.
Hi, Suki. So yeah, I can look up the databases for tree trimming. I think that's usually through Department of Environmental Conservation, and I believe that's state level. So they receive those requests through the Parks Department, and I think there is an interactive map that lists the request and a timeline. But I don't know the full details. It's been a while since I've accessed that map, but I'll look for it and I'll share it with you. Sewer, or drainage, service requests. If there's a map, I'll look that up as well. And I can make a point to place that in our constant contacts. And so community residents can have access to that as well.
One of my neighbors says that several years ago, he saw DEP coming around with this gigantic like vacuum machine to suction out the sewers on Bedford, but he hasn't seen them in a while. So that's what I was wondering, if there's a regular cleaning schedule or.
Probably. We've put in a number of requests, especially during the Hurricane Ida that just passed. And we did get the notification that that location was serviced. I couldn't tell you the logistics, what machines they used or what resources they had. They don't divulge that information to us. They only just inform us it's been received, it's been addressed, and the service is complete. And if a constituent lets us know that it hasn't been, addressed properly, then we go through the process all over again.
So there's not a regular schedule. Somebody has to put in a request.
So when we can assume that when a request is submitted, they do, like, DEP would have a log or a list of service requests, and I couldn't tell you. We'd have to make a detailed inquiry in terms of how they manage those requests, if it's by chronological order or if it's by needs based. But I can look into that for you if you'd like, and try and get you a solid answer.
That'd be great, just to be able to look at that from time
Sure.
to time. Thanks.
Understood.
Thank you, Khalid. We have time for one more item under public discussion, if there's any burning issues that folks would like to raise.
Well, if somebody else wants to go, I'm fine. But if nobody wants to go, I have something to talk about.
I would, if I may, in the spirit of our meeting norms in terms of supporting those and encouraging those that don't always speak up to take a step forward, and those such as myself that speak a lot take a step back. I would just like to offer Pierre the opportunity to introduce himself, because it's the first time I've seen him, and I want to welcome him.
Sure, thank you. So my name is Pierre Albert. It's a pleasure. I wanted to be a part of this meeting. I usually go visit the different committee meetings. I am a community leader. I used to work for Assemblyman Kareem Kamara, and I used to work for Eric Adams. So I'm just trying to do some good in the community. I have a lot of plans, a lot of things that I want to put forward. So it's not typical for usually like leaders to go to the different committee meetings, but I find that that's when you really learn a lot. And I find that that's when you really go into the details. So it's just a pleasure for me to be a part of this meeting, and it's a pleasure for me to just be able to contribute. So thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you as well.
Nice to meet you. Thanks so much for joining. You're welcome anytime.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, any other burning issues before we wrap up? I said that I would like to get you out of here at 8 o'clock, and it's 8:05. I think this was a productive meeting, but any last burning issues? All right, great. Well, in terms of next steps, after this meeting, my action items include sending you all materials any additional materials that Robert sent me, because I already sent out the flyer. I will definitely send out his contact information. I will also send out a link for the planned rain gardens to this committee, including Suki, and I will send you Nicolas' email. Honestly, I will probably send that all in one email just to keep things simple. So that's what I will be working on. And then I would like to ask all committee members to please take some action on your ideas that you are championing, and report back in January with new developments as it pertains to the ideas that you're championing. And then lastly, I would just ask Martina, would you be able to send me the notes in the next 2 to 3 days? Two days, let's say. Yeah.
Yes, I will. I will.
Okay.
You know what? I actually thought of something that I meant to ask everybody,
Sure.
and we can discuss it next time around, but I thought that it might be a good idea to have a petition for the community to write down that they want to have these larger apartment buildings figure out a trash plan that's clean and safe and aesthetically, in keeping with everything. So I'd like to do a petition, but my question is it something that you do? How do I do it? Obviously it has to be done online. What's the venue? What's the, is it moveon.org? No, it's not. What would I use to create the petition?
That's a great question, Martina. There are different websites where you can make your own petition. One of them is change.org, and a lot of people use that as a template to draft petitions. So that might be something you'd like to consider.
Change.org. Okay. And then would it be a good idea to just run by what I would say on the petition and send it to you, or send it out to everybody at this meeting? Or what are your thoughts on that?
I think feel free to send it to the committee. Folks can offer their thoughts. I love the idea of a petition, actually. I think it's a really great idea. And yeah, send it to the committee, and we can offer thoughts, and we can go from there. And that you know, I think the only thing we'd have to be careful about is saying that this is an environmental protection CB9 petition. It might have to be these are concerned residents in Community Board 9, or these are concerned residents in XYZ neighborhoods. But I think it's a great idea. And I'd welcome and encourage committee members to offer their input.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Right. Just remember when you're bringing something in terms of the entire board, they have to vote on it. So we just can't do anything we want to. So if you're doing it privately, fine. But if you're doing something that has something to do with the entire community board, they have to vote on it. So we have to bring it to, and I think you attend administrative meetings. And then they vote, and then they bring it to the full board if it has to be a vote. Because you got to be careful, you know, what you're writing and what you're putting out as a whole.
Very true, Ms. Moses. Thank you for raising that. So that's kind of, Martina, you could go one of two ways. You could make it a private thing and send it to us just as members of the neighborhood. But if you want to make it a more formal thing, it's everything that Ms. Moses just raised. And I'd be happy to work with you on that if that's the route that you decide to go.
Yeah, I mean, my only reason to do the latter is that would that hold more weight, you know, for actual, you know, effective change. You know, by having the power of the community board behind it, would that would give it a little bit more, you know, gravity to it.
It probably would. That's my initial thought. It probably would.
Is
Yep.
that something that she can put a motion forward for? Like,
Yeah, we would have to do a motion next month in January, and we'd have to have quorum. But yeah, absolutely. And Suki, you had your hand raised too?
Yeah, I just wanted to offer about what Martina is asking. There was a, I think the last sanitation commissioner was going to propose a rule that buildings over a certain size have to have containers. I think it was like a very large number of units, like more than 200 or something like that. And if you want to even have that be a lower number, to get all the buildings to do that could be something that we pass a resolution about to send to sanitation, because I think this was like a sanitation regulation that was being proposed. I'm not positive if it has to go through the city council or if the sanitation department can do this on their own. You might want to look that up.
Suki,
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, Suki, if you have any information on that, could you send it directly to Martina?
There was an article about it. I'll see if I can find it and send it to you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Thank you. Okay, everyone. Well, it's 8:12. I'd like to adjourn the meeting. And I want to say thanks very much for your active participation and your interest in environmentally protecting our community. Have a good evening and looking forward to seeing you in January. Happy holidays.
You have to make a motion to adjourn.
Oh gosh.
You do. And then we, go ahead.
Can I make the motion, Ms. Moses? Or
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, I make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
Thank you. That motion has been seconded.
So meeting is adjourned.
The meeting is adjourned. All right.
happy holidays, everyone.
Everyone, to you too. Take care.
Thank
See
you.
you next year.
See you next year.
Bye-bye. Take care. Be
Bye.
safe.
Bye.